So in this video I'm just going to show you how to add the additional two bosses onto this end. So I'm going to use the same plane because I may as well. It's the plane this time is actually inside my work, not a problem. So this is my plane, which is of course my boss plane. And on my boss plane I'm going to add my two new sketches. I'm going to normalize, I'm going to zoom in, make life easier. I'm going to draw one circle from the same center point, draw a second, and dimension those circles to be 10 and to be 6.1. Okay, so I have my two circles. I'm going to do exactly the same thing down here, just because I can at the same time, may as well. So, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use what I've just done and link them with my straight line. So let's draw one, let's draw a second, and again, dimension 10, dimension 6.1. So I have my two circles. I press escape, which enables me to move on. And now if you notice, both move together. Okay, so they're both in a straight line. So we'll get something about that. That looks fine to me. I'm going to accept my sketch. Okay, so I'm going to then hide my boss plane just to make it easier so we can see what is going on. I'm also going to hide plane 4 again so we can see what is happening. So now I'm going to choose extrude. I'm going to pick my circles. I'm actually going to pick both sets because I can do all of these in one go. I'm going to choose up to next, which extrudes, making sure I also have the middle bit of that already selected. Okay, just like so. Then I'm going to switch my sketch back on, choose extrude again, pick the center and the center, going to choose remove, going to choose 11 and make sure the direction is going down inwards to my work. Now what I'm going to do, just to keep it neat, okay, I'm just going to go back to my boss plane there, switch that back on. Instead of my ribs starting at the top of this, I still like it, there's a little tiny distance from the top of my boss to my rib. So I'm going to pick that plane and I'm actually just going to move that down. I'm going to move that down by 2.5 millimeters. You can see that one there. I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to say boss ribs. Okay, like so. I'm going to accept. Okay, so this is why we name things, because it makes it easier to find things. Then on that, I'm going to do a new sketch on my boss ribs plane. Boss ribs there. Let's normalize. Okay, and now exactly the same as I've previously done, which is I'm going to switch on construction lines. Okay, I'm going to draw one up here, press escape. Okay, and just keep repeating that principle. And I may as well do the same at the bottom because again, I can actually do this all in one go. So just make sure I get that horizontal. Now there are ways that you can do this without drawing a center line, but it is just good technique to do it. I myself realize that it takes that little tiny bit longer in terms of doing this. However, it is the right technique. Now notice what's happened on my screen. Again, I've got that dimension with the diameter. So I'm just going to undo. Okay, let's do that one again. Okay, so get my dimension tool. Let's get the center of my circle. Let's make sure I get that. And there we go. That's much better this time. Okay, so 0, 0. Okay, let's just repeat that at the bottom. Okay, so same thing again to my center point. 0, find my center point, find my line, and 0. Okay, then we'll use our rectangle tool and just draw our rectangles in. So there's one, here's another. Let's do the ones at the top as well before we start dimensioning, then all our sketch work is done. There's another, and finally the last one. And now I'm ready just to do my dimensions. So let's dimension. Okay, now I can already tell you that this one I don't think is going to work when I pick that. Okay, it hasn't. I'm just going to click escape and go back one. Okay, just to do that. I'm actually just going to draw that rectangle again because I pressed escape one too many times. Let's press the dimension tool again. Okay, so let's pick my center line there and pick my line there and change it to be 0.75. So occasionally, you know, sometimes we just pick the wrong lines. It's not a problem. I've done that again here because actually that's now the radius. You might notice that symbol again, meaning diameter. So let me undo again. Let's try that again. Okay, so it's just because it's selecting the wrong information. Again, it's done the same thing. Okay, so I've got to try and find a way around that. Let's maybe pick that line there. Then let's do it. That looks better. Okay, so sometimes it can just be the position where you pick the line, perhaps outside. That's not worked. Perhaps inside. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of playing around to get that right line. So let's try again. There's one. Hopefully this one is now correct, which it is. It's okay, so let's try that again. That line. There we go. Okay, so I've started to get my rectangles exactly correct, and I've shown you what happens and sometimes if you just pick the wrong one. Okay, let's try and get that. Okay, all looks good. I'll do this final one now. And one for this one here. Okay, so we get that 0.75. So it's very repetitive. That's what bosses and ribs are, but they make such a difference to your work. And it's this level of inside modeling which gains you extra marks because it's then the consideration of how do I join parts together. So now I'm going to extrude, and instead of going around and picking them, I'm actually just going to get my sketch 12 and pick it all in one go. And you can see there they are sticking out. So let's change blind to up to next and accept. Okay, nothing sticking on the outside, there's on the inside, and we'll finish that up just by adding our 0.5mm fillet. Okay, and again, just takes a little time just to go around all the edges, making sure that you do have all the edges and those ones on the inside, which sometimes, again, you know, here it can be a little fiddly just to select them. And it isn't the end of the world if you don't get them all, but it's just nice and it's neat and tidy and good modeling technique. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that. All looks right. Okay, and then do this one. Just so, by the way, in case you notice, it looks very different on this side than this side. That's because this has got more of a radius, more of a curve on the inside, so it looks different. Okay, you also notice the ribs. Okay, they're just below that surface. I just think that looks a lot neater, a lot tidier in terms of modeling. Okay, and again, 0.5. Oh, don't want to do that. Unselect it. Okay, let's pick that one. Okay, let's just make sure I've got that edge. Yes, I do. That looks right. Okay, so again, sometimes it can be that you're unsure if you pick the edge, if you got it right. You can just wait a moment, check the preview, look at your lines and just think, oh, have I missed anything? Missed that one there. That looks now right. Let's accept. Okay, all looks good. Everything's rounded and filleted. And there is my modeling of my bosses for the inside.